vision, she got vision, bing, 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 she got vision, she got vision, she got vision, bing, 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 bing.
We don't want to be going this bro style where we're keeping the thumbs over the top of the bar, just because we want to look like Billy Big Bollocks. So I'm always someone who struggles with the bench press and in particular push movements. Now, that doesn't mean you need to avoid it like the plague or the coronavirus, get that one. But if you are someone who gets shoulder pain, or you don't really feel it for the chest, or you just want to be able to load up the bar and hit a bench press without getting injured or without feeling pain in your shoulders, then I'm going to run through a little bit of a checklist of how to set up for the bench press and how to execute it today. So number one, the first thing that you probably notice is from a lot of my training videos, I tend to leave the clips off on bench press. So if you're training on your own, or for example like today, Lucy's operating the recording device, then I'll be doing bench press on my own. So I don't want to, one, be guillotining myself if I drop the bar and I can't get it back up, or two, I don't want to pin rolling it down myself and just squashing the meat in two veggies and doing it. So leave the clips off just in case I need to wobble it either side, knock the plates off and be able to get from under the bar safely. Number two is going to be the bread and butter, is just your alignment. So when you approach the bar, just make it set up nice and evenly fed across, because we don't want to take it off uneven and then wobbling everywhere. With the alignment, you also want to be able to start with our eyes about on the bar level, so when we take it off we get a bit more strength, and it means that we get a bit more pushing power to take it off the bar itself. Looking at alignment, we're also going to be looking at our grip. So what I usually do is pointing finger, we're going to put that, I usually take that on the rings, just that's a nice setup for me so that I can keep the elbows nice and tight in towards the body and get a better driving phase from there. This brings on to the third point, which is talking about grip. If we're starting from here, we also want to remember to not keep our elbows flared out, because when we're in this position, it puts our shoulders and in particular our rotator cuffs in a really vulnerable place because we don't have much time to move. Now this is generally the reason why most people end up with injuries or that pinching sensation when we're coming up and pressing through the bench press. The other thing we want to mention with grip is we don't want to be going in this bro style where we're keeping the thumbs over the top of the bar just because you want to look like Billy Big Bollocks in the gym. You want to get a full firm grip around the bar like you grab on your love lemon. Cut that bit out just actually. Get a nice tight grip of the bar, and what we want to also do is we want to come under and be holding the bar like this, not the other way around where the wrists are flailing backwards, because you're going to end up with limp biscuit wrists. We want to get a nice tight grip on it so that when we're pressing through we get the power transfer through the wrist. This will eliminate you getting any pain through the wrist, and in essence you won't need to really use wrist straps because you'll just be getting a nice pressing motion through the bar and keeping the weight and the load through the full arm rather than just through the wrists. Number four is going to be the bar path. So now we're ready to take the bar off. We've got our grip. We're going to push up. With the bar path, we want to keep a nice natural flowing arch. So what we're going to do is pretend we're coming down with the bar to about the nipple line. Tickle the nipples, and then press back up. You want to pretend that you are pressing back up towards the face. Obviously not as far as over the head because you're going to get injuries and be throwing the bar too far back. But nipple line, quick pause if you want to, and then pressing back up. If you keep your elbows as close to the body as possible when you're doing it, it'll really help get that arching motion rather than just up and down on the bench press, which you want to try and avoid. Number five is going to be our foot position. So you're probably thinking, what has this got to do with the bench press? But when we're setting up for the bench, what we want to do is, with our feet, we're going to slide them as far back as possible or wherever our mobility will allow, just because this is going to basically be our counter force and help with power transfer as well to help us push back. What you want to do is make sure that the heels are still touching the floor. So if you want to turn your feet slightly outwards whilst you're pulling as far back as possible, it's going to help you get a little bit more of a better setup with the floor. What we're also going to do is bring the lower back to keep like a natural arch in the lower back. What we also want to do is hug the bench with our scapula and traps, and then we can lift off. Now, although it looks a little bit strange sometimes having this arch in the lower back, it's going to put the back in a safer position, the lumbar's going to be in a safer position, it's going to help retract the shoulders better, and it's also going to make you a bit more powerful. That doesn't mean you need to be setting up like a powerlifter and dragging all the way up and putting yourself in a freakish position, but it's going to help when you start getting into the bench press and looking to move more load. So the actual lift itself, the bench press, is mega simple. It's just remembering all these steps and key points before we go into it, which will help you execute a better bench. So it's going to lift it off. Again, down to the nipple line. It's up to you whether you want to take a quick pause, drive up over the face,
vision, he got vision, he got vision, bing, 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 he got vision, he got vision, he got vision, bing, 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 he got vision, he got vision, he got vision, bing, 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 he got.
So with this one, it depends what, if you're going for a strength phase or whether you're looking to do more volume, which is going to depend on the reps and sets. Give this one a go, hit save, take this checklisting when you go to do bench press or chest next time, and just make sure that you're going through the setup whenever you're going to do bench to avoid injury, shoulder pain, and just get a heavier and bigger bench.